JD Vance just insulted New Yorkers hours away from Donald Trump's rally in New York, and the stuff that he said not only doesn't make any sense, but is also just plain racist. So in this video, we're going to go over what he said and why it's so bad. But first, as I'm sure you're aware, JD Vance had an interview on CNN where he said some pretty crazy stuff and was melting down. But right after that interview, Liz Cheney also went on CNN and called out JD Vance for his meltdown and constant lies. So just take a look at Liz Cheney calling out JD Vance.
Vance, since he invoked you so many times, even though I never mentioned your name once.
Look, Jake, I think what we just watched is, what it looks like when someone has got to go through just unbelievable contortions to try to find a way to defend the person that JD Vance himself called America's Hitler. And just so many just really stunning attacks. Look, attack me, that's fine. You can do that all you want. But for JD Vance to be going after, retired 4-star Marine General, Gold Star father, John Kelly, for him to be attacking and lashing out like that, Vice President Pence, so many others, secretaries of defense, the former chiefs of staff, former national security advisor. I mean, I think, look, they understand the Trump campaign, Donald Trump, JD Vance, they absolutely understand how damaging it is for the American people to see all of these unprecedented levels of senior officials from the Trump administration telling the American people that Donald Trump is unfit. And so, they concoct these things that are completely divorced from any connection to the truth to lash out and attack. But look, the American people understand, to have these kinds of people like General Kelly come out and speak publicly, they know that at his core, Donald Trump, he really has no conscience. They know that he's erratic. They know that he's chaotic. They know that he's cruel. And they're telling the American people that. And so it does take a lot of contortions and a real desperation to try to convince people that they shouldn't listen to those who know Donald Trump best.
So yeah, I think it's great that Liz Cheney was able to go on CNN and call out JD Vance, because sometimes it feels like we're just being gaslit into believing that his behavior is normal. For us sane people, JD Vance is clearly a lunatic, but it feels like all of the Republicans are this way now, and it makes me feel like I'm crazy. Like, how is this race so close, and how is JD Vance and Trump even allowed to run? How did we get to this point in time? So it's always great to see Liz Cheney saying, hey, you're not crazy, this is just insane. And this is even more apparent when you consider JD Vance's insults that are just plain racist, and it may be hard to believe from someone whose wife is Indian and who has spoken out about racism before, but trust me, he is repeating a racist talking point. So let's take a look at this clip that highlights JD Vance's newest comments about New Yorkers ahead of Donald Trump's rally in New York.
This is sort of what globalization does, right? And this is what I really worry about. Is like London doesn't feel fully English to me anymore.
No.
Right? New York, of course, is the classic American city.
Yeah.
Over time, I think New York will start to feel less American.
Yeah.
Everything becomes flattened and becomes the same.
Yeah.
And like real diversity actually
Right.
is like, I'd kind of like to go to a different place and have it be different.
You want Paris to be Paris.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not have it all just feel the same.
Right.
Right. That is, I think, a diversity that I can get behind.
Yeah, that was bad. JD Vance is saying that he doesn't like diversity because it makes the place less unique and more boring. In other words, when there are races other than white people, it feels too much like foreign countries without as many white people. Therefore, it takes away from the uniqueness of it. I know that plain outright racism is now way too common, and it can be hard to notice more subtle racism, but this is still racism. In my opinion, the uniqueness of a place is more about the culture, and places are going to evolve, but people coming in are not going to suddenly drastically change the culture. New York will always be New York regardless of how diverse it is, which, by the way, this whole argument is completely stupid because the US, especially New York, was built on immigrants. From the start, we were diverse. So this whole talking point just goes to show you that it's not based in good faith arguments about policy. It's just blatant racism.